All right, today we're going to be installing this 23-inch Sissy bar on the back of my 2018 Harley Davidson Sportster 48 XL 1200X. This is purchased off Amazon. Comes as a package with these extended bolts that are going to replace your stock bolts back here. These are going to be Torx 40-bit bolts, so you will need a T40 bit as well as a socket wrench, and you're going to need a 13mm wrench. That's going to be for holding the bolt back in here when you're using that T40 to take that bolt out. You will also want some blue Loctite to lock those threads down when you replace them with your larger bolts. So getting started here, we will want to just pop off these tail light covers here. That's just going to make it easier for us to operate our wrench in here. If you're worried about breaking these bulbs, you can also pop those out. Just like that. Then we're going to go ahead and get our T40 Torx bit along with our socket wrench. Alrighty. So once you get this guy out, you're gonna see here, this is what you were unscrewing from the back. So this is going there. That guy is going to be saved because we will use it with our smaller back ones. And again, save these as you're going to use these later. All right, so now for the more challenging part, it's gonna be these front bolts here. Not too challenging, but a little harder than the back. Again, you're gonna get your T40 Torx bit, your socket wrench. This is kind of the tough part, slipping this 13mm wrench over the bolt back there. I just wanna snake your arm back there and all right, and from out in the back, here's going to come our secondary part. Go ahead and set that aside. And for the other side. All right. So now when you go to look at the actual placement of the Sissy bar itself, these two holes are obviously going to line up with your two holes where you just took your bolts out, like so. Those will go into there. These will go into this side. One thing I do notice is that you're going to be running paint on paint here. So I did pick up some rubber washers from the hardware shop just to pad that a little bit so I'm not running paint on paint. Again, that's not required and it will work without it. But I do advise picking up some rubber washers that your bolts will fit through just to be safe. All right, now we're gonna get our thread locker here, blue, not red. And we're just gonna apply a bit onto each screw. Now that we have that done, this is another benefit of the washers, the rubber washers, is I'm gonna go ahead and start each one and they'll just kind of hold themselves in there until I'm ready.
So again, short ones go in the back, long ones go in front.
One thing I did notice while getting into this, the bolts that they give you with this kit are actually not T40 bolts like the stock Harley Davidson ones are. These are going to be hex keys, and for these Husky hex keys I have, it's going to be a size 4.5. That fits in there nicely. This is going to be angled at a little bit of an angle like that. You'll feel it click in when you get it on the right spot in the back here. Just like that. If you hear that noise, you're pretty locked in there. All right, let me go ahead and get our hex key now. Start working through that rubber washer.
And into our metal washer in the back. Alright, now I like to move to the other side. Just like when you're threading bolts, you kind of want to do diagonally.
I'm gonna hand thread it through till I feel it poking out the back. Which is gonna be right there.
Now we're going to keep this bolt here and repeat the same process.
All right, so that front one was a little tough to get in with the washers. That screw barely makes through to make connection there, but I did end up getting it. So now we're gonna get our 13mm wrench. Once again, snake that back there.
Get a hold of that bolt.
And tighten it down.
Right now we're going to repeat the same process for the back. Again, get our back bolt a little slight angle towards you.
Feel that one click into place. And thread your bolts through. Time for this final bolt. I am going to be putting a little bit of thread locker just inside these nuts as well. Going to be, again, snaking this one through the back to find connection with the bolt. All right, so got it all installed on there. Super strong. The rubber washers definitely made it way more difficult to install due to the fact of the bolts are only a certain length to be able to get into the nuts behind, and you add that little washer in there and it makes it really difficult to find the nut on the backside. I do think it is worth the time though, saving your paint. That way you don't have metal on metal connection. Again, it's super sturdy on there. It looks great.